Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about 3 D&D GM mistakes to avoid at all costs. And let me tell you something, I learned these the hard way GMing my own games. I've had a really good track record of having great players who give me good feedback. And these are the 3 things that earlier on in my GMing experience, no matter how much I tried to do them, no matter how much I tried to make them work, I always got bad feedback about them. And when I abandoned them altogether, my players ended up so much happier. And some of these things are a little tempting to do, and for good reason. And some GMs, they get a little bit lost in the journey of trying to figure out how to manage these things. So we're going to talk about all 3 of them today, all 3, starting with number 1. Taking away player agency. What is player agency? It's the player's ability to make choices, try things, and interact with the world. Now, this mistake can be likened to violating the existential principle of autonomy, where individuals are seen as free agents capable of determining their own destiny. In D&D, when a GM takes away player agency, they strip players of their existential right to craft their own narrative. This not only diminishes the game's engagement, but also disempowers players, turning what could be a dynamic adventure into a passive experience where players feel more like observers than active participants. And this is most likely to happen when it's tied to a plot element. So for example, like let's say the players are standing in a room having a conversation with an important diplomat, and suddenly one of them draws their bow and wants to shoot him. You might think this is disastrous for my plot. However, it's really important to understand that not giving players the chance to take the actions that they want to take can really hurt the game experience for them, because players play role-playing games because they want to enact their character's story upon your amazing world. And those ingredients are both needed to create an immersive experience. And so we don't want to stifle that agency. And that leads me to my second point. The second biggest mistake that I've learned can really derail your D&D game is trying to force the plot onto your players at the expense of their freedom to design their own destiny and in-game experience. And this is very much goes hand in hand with the first tip. Imposing a rigid plot structure can be viewed through the lens of philosophical authoritarianism, where freedom is sacrificed for the sake of order. Now, we all know that sometimes when players are left to their own devices and they're allowed to do anything they want, things can get crazy and chaotic, right? So there do have to be consequences for kind of like crazy behavior in your game world, because in your game world, there are probably things like laws. There are probably things like social norms, ethics, customs, right? People who violate them are going to suffer some kind of detrimental downside, perhaps getting shunned, getting arrested, that kind of thing. However, trying to force players to follow your plot or obey these customs out of game, or by like restricting their characters' abilities to even roll dice and try things, this can really hurt the game experience for players. And once again, it makes them feel very stifled, right? Just as in philosophy, where this approach is critiqued for stifling individuality and creativity, in D&D, such rigidity can prevent the organic development of a story shaped by players' choices. This undermines the collaborative nature of role-playing, turning the game into a pre-scripted narrative with limited player impact. And let me just tell you this, let me offer you a little bit of encouragement today. Sometimes the wildest, best, craziest, most memorable things that I've ever experienced in my own D&D games came from me letting a player do something that originally I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is going to derail everything. But it turned out that when I took that as fuel for creativity and then turned that into a real ingredient or building block for my plot, and I made it work together with it, and I made it real, and it just like I went with it and I invested in it, they became such incredible, memorable experiences. Like, you know how players get, they do crazy things. And sometimes those crazy things can lead to the most memorable outcomes. And that leads us to our third and final point. The third thing that can ruin any D&D game, not allowing your players to do cool stuff that perhaps doesn't technically work with the rules as written. We all know a couple players like this, don't we? Prohibiting players from performing actions that don't align with the rules as written can be analogous to legal positivism in philosophy, which upholds laws without regard for their fairness or moral value. In D&D, this approach can stifle creativity and fun, which are two central pillars of the game. Allowing cool stuff, even if it bends the rules, enhances the magical aspect of role-playing, fostering a sense of wonder and possibility that keeps the spirit of adventure alive. I am very happy and grateful to have been blessed with role-playing friends who think of all kinds of wild things to try that are not written in the rules. And generally speaking, I go with the idea of if they want to try to do it, they can. I just have to figure out how difficult it'll be to succeed. And it might be a high check, but okay, they're going to get the chance to do it because I want to give them the chance to try their cool thing. And you know what? They might roll a nat 20 on something that seems literally impossible and pull it off. Even if it's not actually possible, giving them some kind of stepping stone building blocks to try to make it possible. For example, you can't just cast wish. You can't just cast the wish spell in the vacuum with no previous magical training. However, if a player is so dead set on casting the wish spell, maybe I'll say, you know what, roll a history check. You have heard that there have been people in history who have managed to do this, and they had to kind of do these things, blah, 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 right? So maybe I'll craft a little something in the storyline to empower a player to at least show them, hey, what you want to do is really powerful, maybe not possible right now, but it could be possible. Here's a storyline. Here's a quest to make it happen. You don't just have to go by the literal rules in the book, to do every single thing. So this can make a game very open-ended and very fun, as long as you kind of, in good classic GM style, maintain a bit of order and you make sure that things don't get too wacky and out of control so that you can maintain that real sense of reality immersion, right? You want the players to have that sense of feeling like this obviously is a fantasy world, but it is believable. Right? It's believable enough that it matters to them, and it seems real enough that they care about it. And that's really, once you accomplish that, you've got it made. So there you go. There's my 3 tips. Thank you so much for coming by. And I just want to congratulate you, give you a little encouragement. Playing D&D is an awesome thing to do. Playing D&D is something that will make your friendships better. It will make your life better. And when you engage in this activity with other people, you are literally creating intellectual art that is unlike anything that has ever been or ever will be again. You're creating something amazing. So keep it up. Keep up that good work. Hit that thumbs up button and the subscribe button. I'm here every day sharing my favorite D&D tips about my favorite game. So have a great one, and I'll see you on the next one.